take a look at some fractions. So I'm going to use my fraction bars, and I'm going to create the fraction 3/12. See, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces. Each of them are 1/12 in size. I would like to find another piece that is equal to these 3 1/12 pieces. Well, if I look, I see that I have a 1/4 piece that is equal to the 3/12. I'm going to go ahead and take another set of pieces, and here I'm going to take 2 1/10 pieces, also known as 2/10, 2 1/10 pieces, and find an equivalent fraction to that. And an equivalent fraction looks to be 1/5. An equivalent fraction looks to be 1/5. Okay, let's go with a bigger fraction, or at least it looks bigger. And we have 6 1/8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/8 pieces, also known as 6/8. Well, I don't have one piece that can equal this, but if I'm looking for bigger pieces that are equal to 6/8, I can use 3 1/4 or 3/4, which are equal to 6/8. Let's go ahead and write that in our notes. At this upper part right here, I just wrote them in. Here I have 3/12 equals to 1/4. Here I have 2/10 equals to 1/5. And 6/8 equals 3/4. Okay, just a little note for us in a bit. If I have this number 1, are there any fractions that equal the number 1? Well, I could put 2 1/2 pieces together. So let's go ahead and write that in our notes. The number 1 equals 2 halves. It could also equal 3/3. It could also equal 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, 7/7, 8/8, 9/9, 10/10, and so on and so on and so on. Looking at these fractions, what do you notice about all the fractions that equal 1 whole? What do you notice about all the fractions that equal 1 whole? Well, since we know a fraction can be division, what's 2 divided by 2? 1. What's 3 divided by 3? 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. All of those are equal to 1. Today, our goal is to find equivalent fractions, and we will simplify those fractions. Before we can do that, let's talk about what an equivalent fraction is. Well, hopefully you're hearing it somewhere in that word equivalent. Equal fractions. Fractions that have the same value even though they may look different. Fractions that have the same value even though they might look different. So here we had 3/12. An equivalent fraction was 1/4. We proved that they were equal by using our pieces. Same thing with 2/10 is equal to 1/5, 6/8 is equal to 3/4. And 1 whole is equal to all these fractions, which are equivalent fractions to each other as well. How do we make equivalent fractions, you might ask? Well, I like to look at them from left to right. So let's look at 3/12 and 1/4. Well, to get from 3 to 1, what math am I doing? Some of you might say, oh, I'm subtracting by 2 or something like that. But when we're simplifying fractions, we're not going to add or subtract. Let's consider a different problem. Let's consider if I had 4/8. Let's consider having 4/8. Well, I could tell you that 4/8 is equal to 2/4. 4/8 is equal to 2/4. Is that correct? Is that the only correct response that we could possibly have? I could also say that 4/8 was equal to 1/2. Why might someone prefer to say that 4/8 is equal to 1/2? Why might they prefer to say that? Well, I only need one piece here. It's pretty easy for me to use 1/2 versus 2/4 or 4/8. To get from 4/8 to 1/2, we're going to be using the greatest common factor to help us. Use the greatest common factor to divide both the numerator and denominator. So let's look at the factors of 3 and the factors of 12. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3. The factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. What's the greatest common factor you see in these two lists? Well, I see 3 and 3. Those are the greatest common factors that we can get from both of these numerator and denominator. Well, if I divide both the numerator and denominator by that number, I'd end up with, well, let's see, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 12 divided by 3 is 4. I'd end up with our equivalent fraction that we came up with earlier. Can I apply the same idea to 2/10 equaling 1/5? Yes, I can. I know the factors of 2 are 1 and 2. The factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. So I can divide the top and bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Continuing on, the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. The factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, and 8. The greatest common factor I see is 2, so I'm going to divide by 2 top and bottom, and I end up with 3/4, which is what we decided earlier was an equivalent fraction. So here we're able to use that greatest common factor to find an equivalent fraction. After a lot of practice, you're going to be able to come up with the greatest common factor in your head, and you might not have to use these to help you. Now, sometimes people, like before when we had those 4/8 and 2/4, they prefer to have a fraction in simplest form. Sometimes you'll hear simplest form, sometimes you'll hear simplify, reduce as the verbs for this. But simplest form is when we have a fraction whose numerator and denominator cannot be divided by any common number other than 1. Well, how do we make sure that we found the simplest form, that we simplified enough? The only way to make sure is to look at these two numbers. Can they be divided by any other common number other than 1? Let's see, the factors of 1 are 1. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2. So 1 is the only number that I can continue to divide these two by. Well, that's it. That's how you find equivalent fractions. You can divide or multiply by the same number on top and bottom and get an equivalent fraction. But when we're simplifying, we're always going to divide so that way we have no more common factors between the numerator and denominator. Let's go ahead and practice on our problem set. Write each fraction in simplest form. If the fraction is already in simplest form, write simplified. Now you only need to simplify if something asks for you to simplify. Otherwise, an equivalent fraction is just fine. So I'm going to look at the factors of 6 and 8. 6 has 1, 2, 3, and 6. 8 has 1, 2, 4, and 8. And the greatest common factor is 2. So I can divide the top and bottom by 2, getting again that fraction we got earlier of 3/4. Let's find the factors of 6 and 10. 6 would be again 1, 2, 3, and 6. 10 would be 1, 2, 5, and 10. 2 once again is our greatest common factor. I can divide top and bottom by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and check to make sure. Can I divide 3 and 5 by any other common number? No, so this one's simplified. Let's do our factors of 3 and 18. Factors of 3 are 1 and 3. Factors of 18, 1, 3, 6, 18. The greatest common factor is 3. Divide top and bottom by the same number so that we don't change the value. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Can I divide 1 and 6 by the same number? No, not other than 1. The factors of 2 and 5. 2 has 1 and 2. 5 has 1 and 5. The only factor is 1, so this one is already simplified. The factors of 4 and 16. 1 times 4. 2 times 2, so I'm just going to write it once. We have 1, 2, and 4. So the greatest common factor we have here is 4. Divide top and bottom by 4, getting 1/4. I can't divide 1 and 4 by a different number other than 1, so I'm simplified there. Let's go ahead, the factors of 12 and the factors of 24. 12, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. 24, we have all of these too. 1, 2, 3. Just so I stay organized. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and we don't have any 5s in this mix. The greatest common factor here is 12. We can divide by 12 on top and bottom, making it so we have an equal fraction, which we get 1/2. 1 and 2 can't be further divided by a number other than 1. The factors of 6 and, 25. 6 has 1, 2, 3, and 6. 25 has 1, no 2. See, that's 1 times 25. No 2, no 3, no 4. Yes, 5. 5 times 5. We're back in the middle. The greatest common factor here is 1. So guess what? This one's also simplified. Look at number 10, the factors of 21 and 30. 21, we have 1, 21. 2, no. 3, yes. 3 times 7. 4, no. 5, no. 6, no. So we're done there. 1 times 30. 2 times 15, 3 times 10, oops, running out of room. 3 times 10, 4, no, 5, yes, 5 times 6, and we're back in the middle. The greatest number that they both have in common is 3, so I'm going to divide top and bottom by 3, and we get 7 tenths. 7 tenths. Again, I cannot divide 7 and 10 by the same number, so I move on. Here, the factors of 4, the factors of 11. 4 is 1, 2, and 4. 11 has 1 and 11. The only factor there is 1, so this one is simplified. Hope that this helped out, guys, and that you feel comfortable finding equivalent and simplified fractions.